Welcome to another biblically based look into today's news from Christian Voice New Zealand. Now here's Mike Bain.
Hi, I'm Mike Bain from Christian Voice New Zealand. For well over the past year, we've been warning about the food shortages, increasing costs at the gas station and a collapsing economy. Well, looking around at how other countries are faring, an economist on the radio recently hinted New Zealand was in a strong financial position. I'd suggest that he's out of step with other economic commentators. In one of my first podcasts on the economy, I quoted Revelation 6:6, you know the one, 2 pounds of wheat for a day's wages and 6 pounds of barley for a day's wage. I suggested eventually we would pay a day's wage for a loaf of bread. Now, I brought out the deniers in the comments section, but I stand by my statement. Post-COVID, the world is in a downward economic spiral with several countries expecting and preparing for a recession. Some countries are looking to voluntarily put their country's economy into recession to counter inflation. The European powerhouse, Germany, which has been the rock for other European countries, is watching its economy collapsing today. The Germans are dealing with the worst inflation crisis that they've ever seen since the days of the Weimar Republic. And meanwhile, economic activity is starting to shut down all over the nation. Now, it's hard to believe some of the inflation figures coming out of Germany that are so high, economists are having difficulty to believe that they're real. German producer prices rose in August at the fastest rate since records began in 1949. Data released by the Federal Statistic Office showed last week they are pointing to a further increase in consumer prices. Now, producer prices of industrial products rose by 45.8% compared to the same month of last year. Compared to July 2022, prices rose 7.9%. Soaring energy prices on the back of Russia's war against the Ukraine remain the main driver behind rising prices, and you can refer to such a scenario as a recession or a depression if it makes you feel better. You know, I just call it an economic collapse. Well, while the Germans grapple with their economic woes, the US is heading down the same path. Business people in the States believe that they're being pushed into a recession. One billionaire talking to a financial news outlet said the economy is breaking hard, and if the federal bank keeps this up, they're going to have a serious recession and people will start to lose their jobs. Major retailers are cancelling orders for future inventory as their predictions based on experience of where the economy is heading. Now, here in New Zealand, we keep hearing about our Reserve Bank is under pressure. The director, Adrian Orr, is juggling with what needs to be done to slow the economy as New Zealanders are spending like there's no tomorrow, and the seemingly uncontrollable government spending as it produces more money without any value. Already we're seeing inflation rising, especially at the supermarket and the gas station. Finance Minister Grant Robertson argued New Zealand's economy is well positioned in an increasingly turbulent global situation and put forward a case for optimism as the country drops its COVID restrictions. However, the government's been hit with several criticisms over the last month as the cost of living continues to bite, and it makes you question Robertson's optimism. Business confidence in the government's handling of the economy is at its lowest ebb since the Muldoon government. And you can understand why. When inflation began jumping earlier this year, the government was initially hesitant to say that there was a cost of living crisis, but has since taken a number of steps intended to help Kiwis, such as the cost of living payment, cutting fuel taxes and halving public transport fares. As inflation hit a 30-year high, the government, reacting to a cost of living crisis, began sending out its cost of living payments in August, intended to support low and middle income New Zealanders. Problem being, some payments went to foreigners and expats overseas, and let's not forget about the dead people. You know, in a desperate measure to top up the Treasury, they caused an uproar indicating an extension of the GST to fees of managed fund providers, including those who oversee KiwiSaver schemes. The Reserve Bank has been aggressively dialing up interest rates to try to get on top of inflation before it becomes too entrenched. In its latest forecast, the bank predicted inflation would return to the target range of between 1 and 3% until June 2024, while the official cash rate would peak at 4.1% next year. The latest food price data out mid-October showed the largest increase in 13 years, with fruit and veggie prices, not the war in Ukraine, were the driver of the hikes. The latest response to the forthcoming recession is to hit businesses and taxpayers with income insurance tax scheme, which will result in less income. At this moment, we're literally witnessing economic implosions all over the planet, and the stage is being set for an immensely painful 2023. The one thing that could really turn things around would be peace in Ukraine. Unfortunately, global leaders on both sides seem absolutely determined to drag us into a type of cataclysmic global conflict. So there isn't going to be peace, and that means that things are going to get really bad in 2023 and beyond. £2 of wheat for a day's wage and £6 of barley for a day's wages. Is it possible? I believe that we were put here at this specific moment in history for a reason. Like Queen Esther, Moses, Joshua, Solomon, David and Jesus, this is our appointed time. It is when times are at the darkest and the greatest good can be done. And that is something that we all need to remember during the very dark times that are in front of us.
Thank you for watching. Help us to spread this message by sharing it within your own network. For more information, jump online to our website, christianvoicenewzealand.com.